gave everything. Your time, your effort, your loyalty. You were there when it mattered most. You made yourself useful, dependable, present. And still you were replaced, quietly, quickly. Without ceremony or consequence, someone else now fills the space you once occupied. Someone else receives the gratitude that once belonged to you, the affection you once cherished, the recognition you once believed you had earned. And though no words were spoken, a brutal truth echoes louder than any farewell. You were never necessary. You were never indispensable. You were never anything but a placeholder, a body through which the will operated until a more convenient one appeared. This truth is not personal. It is metaphysical. In a world ruled by the will, there are no chosen ones, only functions to be fulfilled. And the moment you cease to fulfill that function, whether in love, in friendship, in labor, you are dismissed. Not with cruelty, but with indifference, like a tool that has grown dull, like a flame that no longer warms. The will, blind and insatiable, has no sentiment. It seeks continuation, not loyalty. It values survival, not soul. The pain you feel when you are discarded is real, but it arises not because you were wronged, but because you believed you could not be replaced. You were taught otherwise, of course. You were told that your uniqueness made you irreplaceable, that if you worked hard, loved deeply, proved yourself again and again, the world would reward you with permanence. But permanence is a lie told to pacify the desperate. The truth is simpler and far more brutal. You are replaceable. You always were. And the more you believed otherwise, the more it will wound you to realize this now. It was not malice that removed you, it was utility. You were needed, and then you were not. And the world moved on because that is what the world does. It moves. It does not look back. But within this cruel clarity there is also a kind of liberation. For if you were never truly needed, then your worth was never dependent on another's use for you. And if your worth is not derived from use, then it cannot be taken away. The tragedy is not that you were replaced. The tragedy is that you built your identity around being irreplaceable. You clung to a role, a relationship, a recognition, as if it could prove your existence mattered. But you do not matter because others need you. You matter because you see through the lie of needing to matter at all. Now you are here, not because the world betrayed you, but because it revealed itself. And if you can bear that revelation, if you can stand beneath its cold light without retreating into illusion, then something within you will begin to shift. The pain will not vanish, but the confusion will. And in its place will come a silence, a stillness. And in that stillness you will begin to ask a different question. Not, why did they replace me, but what was I before I needed to be kept? You speak of loyalty as if it were a natural law, as if the world owed you continuity for your consistency. But nature does not know loyalty. The will, the hidden engine behind all life, has no memory and no gratitude. It moves blindly, like water finding the path of least resistance, always shifting toward what sustains it most efficiently. You imagine that love lasts because it is real, that friendship endures because it is earned, that careers are secure because you have proven your value. But all of this is false. Love lasts only so long as it serves nature's imperatives. Friendship endures only as long as the exchange remains useful. And careers stand only until your cost outweighs your output. You are not protected by sentiment. You are governed by function. The woman who once swore she could not live without you now smiles in the arms of another. The employer who praised your reliability now forgets your name. The friends who once leaned on your presence now lean elsewhere. This is not betrayal. It is substitution. Nature does not mourn the fallen. It replaces them. When one body dies, another is born. When one male fails, another is selected. The will to live does not pause to ask what is fair or what is just. It only asks what works. And in this there is a cruelty so vast that most minds cannot accept it. They invent stories of injustice and heartbreak, of lessons learned and karmic cycles, anything to avoid seeing the brutal simplicity. You were used. And when your use expired, you were exchanged. Do not mistake this for malice. The world is not out to hurt you. It is simply indifferent to your uniqueness. This is why those who give everything are often the first to be discarded, not because they were insufficient, but because they were consumed entirely, their usefulness exhausted, their boundaries ignored, their identity fused to their role, until the role no longer needed them. And once the function is gone, the person is forgotten. The will has no loyalty because loyalty implies memory, choice, and conscience, none of which belong to the realm of nature. The deer is not loyal to the forest. The lion is not loyal to the hunt. They are simply expressions of the will in motion, seeking survival, reproduction, continuation. You may ask then, how do I live in such a world? A world where nothing endures, where everyone is replaceable, where all connection is conditional. The answer is not to harden yourself, not to become cruel in return, but to see clearly, to stop asking permanence from impermanent things, to stop confusing deep emotion with metaphysical meaning. The woman did not leave because she was evil. The employer did not replace you out of hatred. They moved on because the will moved through them. And the will always seeks advantage, always discards the obsolete, always turns toward the next vessel. To see this is not to collapse into despair. It is to free yourself from the agony of expectation. When you no longer expect loyalty from the will, you are no longer devastated when it shifts. You begin to see every human relationship as temporary, not in a nihilistic sense, but in a lucid one. You give not to be kept, but because it aligns with your nature. You stay not to be remembered, but because it is right for now. And when the season changes, you let go, not with resentment, but with awareness. You were never owed permanence. You were given a role, and now it is time to step beyond it. Nothing wounds the modern man more than the idea that he is not special. He has been told since childhood that he is unique, irreplaceable, destined for something grand. He is taught to believe that his thoughts are unprecedented, that his presence matters deeply, that the universe has somehow prepared a seat just for him. But this belief is not truth. It is anesthesia, designed to dull the pain of insignificance. And it is from this very lie that your deepest suffering emerges. For the moment life treats you as ordinary, as expendable, as one among many, you fall into despair. Not because life has changed, but because it has stopped pretending. This illusion of personal significance is not an accident. It is a construct woven by society, by culture, by ego itself. The will uses this illusion to sustain striving. A man who believes he is irreplaceable will run harder, climb higher, sacrifice more. He will endure humiliations and betrayals, believing they are temporary trials on the path to eternal recognition. He will labor not for truth, but for validation. And the world, ever hungry for function, gladly feeds this belief. Teachers, leaders, lovers, all echo the same refrain. You matter. You are seen. You are different. But the moment your usefulness fades, that echo dies, and in its absence you meet the silence you were never prepared for. This silence is the sound of truth. You are not irreplaceable. You are not the center of anyone's world. Even those who claim to love you deeply do so through the lens of their own needs, their own projections, their own entanglement with the will. Strip those conditions away and the love dissolves. This is not cruelty. It is nature. To demand permanence in a world built on impermanence is to suffer endlessly. You were not designed to be special. You were designed to function, and once the function is filled by another, the design forgets you. You may recoil from this, may wish to retreat back into the comforting lie. But what has that lie given you? Disappointment, rage, confusion. The heartbreak you carry is not the result of being unloved. It is the result of believing you could be loved unconditionally in a world ruled by conditions. The despair you feel is not because you were replaced. It is because you thought you never could be. The deeper pain is not rejection. It is awakening to a world that does not see you the way you saw yourself. And yet this awakening, if you allow it to deepen, becomes liberation. When you stop clinging to the fantasy of being special, you stop demanding that the world see you a certain way. You stop performing. You stop begging to be remembered, to be adored, to be needed. Instead, you begin to observe, to move without expectation, to speak without fear of being overlooked. You give up the exhausting posture of being someone important, and in that surrender you find rest. Let this not be misunderstood. Your life is not meaningless. But its meaning will never come from others. It will not come from applause, from devotion, from legacy. It will come only from clarity. And clarity begins the moment you look into the mirror and see not a chosen one, but a passing form, a vessel of the will, a creature who, like all others, will be forgotten. Not tragically, but inevitably. If you can bear this, if you can sit in this awareness without flinching, something sacred begins to emerge. Not pride, but peace. You begin to act not for recognition, but from alignment. You begin to love not to be loved, but because your heart overflows. You begin to live not to be remembered, but because life itself is brief and precious when no longer inflated by delusion. There is a dignity that does not come from being chosen, but from ceasing to need to be. The man who finds himself discarded by the world, cast aside by love, forgotten by those he once served, if he does not return to begging, if he does not chase, if he does not collapse into resentment, he begins to glimpse a strength that no applause can provide. This is the dignity of detachment. It is not born from pride, but from disillusionment. Not from superiority, but from sobriety. He no longer plays the game, not because he cannot win it, but because he has seen that winning changes nothing. To detach is not to become cold. It is to stop burning yourself in the fire of false hope. You no longer perform for affection because you understand that affection is conditional. You no longer fear being forgotten because you know you were never truly known. You no longer strive to prove your worth because you no longer measure yourself by how useful you are to others. You have ceased to participate in the theater of validation. And in that withdrawal you become untouchable, not in the eyes of the world, but in the sanctuary of your own being. The will hates detachment. It cannot operate through a man who no longer wants. A man who no longer begs, no longer yearns, no longer reaches for illusions. He becomes useless to the will. And in that uselessness lies a secret freedom. The world will call you cold, distant, perhaps broken. Let them. You are not here to be understood by the intoxicated. You are here to see clearly, to stand still while all around you chase shadows. What they call emptiness, you will learn to call peace. This is why the contemplative man has always been despised by the world. He does not move when they move. He does not chase what they chase. He does not pretend that life is a drama with meaning, but sees it for what it is, an unending repetition of craving and substitution. And because he has stepped outside the machinery, he cannot be manipulated by it. You cannot control a man who needs nothing from you. You cannot seduce a man who sees through the mask. Many will misunderstand this detachment. They will confuse it with weakness, with withdrawal born of fear. But there is no fear in clarity. There is only the refusal to suffer needlessly. The man who detaches is not running from the world. He is refusing to be ruled by it. He is not incapable of connection, but he will not kneel for it. He is not incapable of love, but he will not lose himself to it. He chooses solitude not because he cannot belong, but because he has seen what people do when they believe you belong to them. And when others replace you as they will, you do not flinch. You do not plead to be remembered. You simply bow inward and walk on. There is power in that step, a power greater than conquest, louder than praise. It is the silent power of one who sees and does not look away, one who has accepted his disposability and in doing so has transcended it. The world cannot truly discard you once you've discarded the need to belong to it. There is a silence that comes after the last illusion dies, a silence not born of defeat, but of release. You are no longer needed, and for the first time that does not wound you. You no longer matter to them, and it no longer defines you. The roles you once fought to preserve, the recognition you once craved, the permanence you once clung to, They have all dissolved. And in their absence, you are left only with yourself. But this self is not empty. It is still, unburdened, entire. You were replaceable all along. This is not a cruelty. It is a liberation. You were never meant to be indispensable to anyone. You were meant to awaken to the truth that no one is. The world forgets as it must. The will moves on as it always does. And the sooner you stop resisting that tide, the sooner you become free, not in the sense of being exalted, but in the deeper sense of no longer needing exaltation. Now you understand. It was not the loss that broke you. It was the illusion that you could not be lost. It was the false belief that your presence anchored meaning. But meaning in this world is not assigned, it is uncovered. And what you uncover in the end is that being replaced does not reduce you. It reveals you. It strips away the narratives you use to justify your suffering and leaves you face to face with what you truly are. An appearance in time, a brief form through which the will once moved, now still. If this truth has reached you, if the pain of being replaced has become the beginning of your clarity, then stay. Subscribe, not because you are special, but because you are finally ready to stop needing to be. And in the comments, write the moment you realized you were replaceable, not to reopen the wound, but to close it with truth. Your story, told without illusion, may be the mirror another man needs to see himself clearly, for the first time.